Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review, we are looking at the DC Multiverse Justice League Collect and Connect Steppenwolf figure. You guys know I'm a big fan of Steppenwolf and a big fan of large Build-A-Figures. This guy does meet both of those criteria, but he does fall short in many other ways. So there's kind of a lot to talk about for this guy, even though he's a basic figure. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 10 inches tall to the top of his horns, which makes him just about 25 centimeters. So he does have significant size over your standard 6-inch figure. That has me very happy. I'm very pleased with that. I like that they're going with that direction in the movie. However, I gotta say personally, I don't like this overall look. That's a very subjective thing. I don't care for it. I like that it's metallic blue. I like the shape of the horns, but it doesn't have enough direction in the look. It's just a whole lot of swirly lines and stuff, so I don't care for the look at all. Now that's not a fault of the figure, that's a fault of the design, but the figure doesn't do it too much justice anyway. As far as accessories go, he does come with his axe. It has a nice enough sculpt on it, but no paint, so that's kind of a bummer. As far as paint on this guy, that's kind of like what I was just talking about. It's just black with like dry brushed metallic blue or metallic red. And that's about it. The face has a little bit of dry brushed gray on it and a little bit of a paint job for the eyes, but it is definitely lacking in detail. This figure does not have a particularly good aesthetic. It's almost hard to tell where his face ends and where his helmet begins around the jawline, so that's definitely a bummer. Another bummer is that the hands are a much brighter color than the face. There's really no dry brushing on the hands, they're just solid gray plastic. It's just not visually appealing. I like the size, I like that it's metallic, so it's got some interest to it, but that is just about it. Now, as far as the articulation goes, the head does have pretty good range. It can look up a little bit, it can look down all the way, so that's going to be useful since he's so tall. It can lean side to side a fair amount, and then of course you have your full rotation, so the head works pretty well. These shoulder pads are a separate piece. They're connected into the collar piece. They're fairly soft, but due to the shape, they're not going to flex too much, so let's see how we can do with the arms. Well, the arms are actually strong enough to hold that plastic out, so I do like that. So hey, that's a redeeming thing, so that's pretty good. You can get the arms out all the way horizontal, maybe even, yeah, a little bit more if you want to. So hey, I'll give them credit for that. I like that. It's your standard ball hinge, so we should have a full swivel, but of course you're not going to be able to swivel through this, unless maybe you do that. So technically, you can give him a swivel. So I guess if you really wanted to, it's there. So, I'll give that to him, I guess. Bicep swivel works okay. Single jointed elbow, not quite 90 degrees. That's never ideal. It's always better to have better range. I guess it's okay, but it's not a great amount. We do have our swivel down here, which is kind of pointless. I don't understand why that's there. It doesn't accomplish anything because you can't really use it, and you have a wrist swivel in addition. So it's really redundant and doesn't serve any purpose. If anything, the swivel would have to be on this end of the joint, which would allow for a better bicep swivel. Double bicep swivel is always better than a forearm swivel. Doesn't serve any purpose. We do have an ab crunch in this guy. Not terrible range though. He mostly leans back though, can't really lean forward, so you're probably just going to want to leave it all the way forward. You do have a waist twist, which works just fine. And then we have this really bulky skirt, which is fairly thick plastic, and it's all one piece. So even though you have these separate cutouts, it's not really going to allow for much articulation. Underneath here, he has DCUC style hips. Maybe you can kind of see in there. So the legs can come forward, but the skirt's definitely going to hold him back. Very, very minimal range. And then going out to the side, you really can't get much range either. It's just the skirt is way too thick. It's going to be pretty minimal posing on this guy. The legs do go back a little bit if you want them to, so I guess that's okay. You have a thigh swivel, which works nice enough. And then you have a single jointed knee, which actually gives you much better range than your elbow. It's a little bit better than 90, so that's okay. But it's DCUC style knee, so it's a little bit ugly. And then for the ankle, you get a little bit of range going forward, and you get almost no range going back. So very limited articulation on this guy. It is fully sculpted, but the sculpt is just not that interesting, unfortunately, due to the character design. And then the paint is just a little bit all over the place. Doesn't really have any good composition to it in terms of just the way it looks. So I'm sure it'll look cool on the screen, but the figure is definitely underwhelming other than in size and being metallic. So it's just okay. If you're going to buy the figures anyway, then it's definitely cool to have this Build-A-Figure, but I wouldn't suggest you go out and buy the figures just for the Build-A-Figure. unless you're a really big Justice League fan or Cinematic Universe fan or Steppenwolf fan. I mean, it's just an okay figure, barely. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And in the meantime, keep collecting.